We want to thank you for joining us today here at 𝗕𝗂𝗏𝗂𝗏. We want to thank you for joining us today here at... Oh, shut up. I'm going to get it. We want to thank you here for joining us today here. So, moving on to our other, to our next, what the hell is this shit again? Moving on to our next, what? As well as the entered, as well as, so that we... You think I could do radio?
You have to pay for it.
It's... Oh, God, I hate you.
What's new?
Because I need therapy.
Can you tell the difference in the quality of the video?
Unfortunately, yes, you can see your face clear.
What are you doing?
I am standing because I am getting swamp ass.
Dude, the one cheek sneak doesn't work when everybody's staring at you. Did you not notice I increased the size significantly?
No,
oh my goodness.
I'm also dyslexic.
What?
The system is down.
Is it?
If you have any feedback, other tips and tricks, or topics you'd like to discuss, please send them to us.
What does spell jamming feel like? For any spellcaster at the helm, they must deal with two simultaneous realities. That sounds so cool. The first is the awareness of their body and the events around them as it expands out beyond their physical being. Though they can't move or can't cast spells without breaking contact with the spell jamming device. But the second reality is the large expanse of consciousness. The spellcaster feels the spelljammer vessel as an extension of their body. God, that sounds awesome! Even the atmospheric envelope, which is really cool, by the way, and gravity plane it creates. Right? So now we're getting into some really technical stuff. If this critical link is broken, the vessel becomes inoperable. Now, today, we're going to be discussing the upcoming Spelljammer Adventures in Space release by Wizards of the Coast through the lens of original material. Dungeons and Dragons Spelljammer Adventures in Edition Academy.
Host Ian.
And I'm your co-host, Brandon.
We hope to inspire you with creative content that you can bring with you on your next adventure. If you haven't figured it out, we are here to discuss Spelljammer Adventures in Space, which is an older campaign that is now being brought forth to Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. Now, first off the bat, as we're getting into this, what do you guys think about this potential campaign setting before we start delving into the lore and the details?
Well, I know in multiple ways they found different methods to bridge the different things, like Eberron, for example, was one worm around another. And it's oh, these are all different inside ears.
Yep.
That you can travel between.
Ooh, I like that. What about you?
I'm excited for D&D in space. Okay, but what I didn't know was if you're a spellcaster, spelljammer to cast spells.
No, you need a spellcaster to make the thing work.
Yep.
But they can
it's
either
just a floating piece of wood in space.
It doesn't even float. Well, I guess in space it would.
Yep.
But yeah, which means somebody that's piloting it is effectively controlling that instead of their normal character mechanics.
So it could not
do it.
A spell.
But a evocation one probably could, I think. Right?
Shoot, David had
Oh, there's a lot of I want to read this quote from you from the AD&D Adventures in Space Spelljammer. In Spelljammer, everything that you know about space
is wrong.
Damn right, Ian. Infinite space, stars as flaming spheres of superheated plasma, movement through space as a balance of scientific force, thrust providing acceleration and maneuverability, in fact, backing up natural phenomenon, life on other planets built along the blocks of carbon and silicon elements. Forget all that.
It's wrong.
It's wrong. Period. And that is one of the opening lines in the book. Why do you think that is?
Because that's not how it is.
Right. And you're going to have people that are going to try to do that, aren't they?
Yep.
Oh, bring the whole science
They're
thing.
going to try to bring
He's standing in
science
water.
into
Does
it.
lightning bolt do extra damage? Piss off.
No, it's magic.
Yeah, and that needs to be set in. I bet you that same quote will be in the new book.
Oh, it needs to be.
It
there,
needs to be, because I have somebody that's going to say, "Oh, I got repelling eldritch blast. I should be able to fly through space on my own." They burst in flames. What the fuck? What? That sounds cooler than just like bleh, you're exploding. What do you think?
Actually, you don't explode in space. Despite the fact there's no air pressure. But anyway.
Everything you know about space is wrong.
No, I'm just saying. I'm saying in the real world, that's not how that works.
Yeah, we're not talking about the real world because everything you know is wrong.
I know.
Do you see what I'm talking about? We're already talking real world physics and
Son
a make
of a
believe
bitch.
But you're
game.
bringing up real world physics.
But that's the point, right? You're gonna have to pick one or the other.
Wait.
Yes. Welcome to
called the Spelljammer within the Spelljammer setting. That's a legendary manta ray in which occasionally people captain. But that's not what you want to talk about.
Yep, we're not talking about the legendary ship,
Nope.
but
It's
I'm glad you included that because I didn't.
Yeah, because the Spelljammer campaign setting expands the traditional fantasy setting system across multiple realms of all the varieties, any and all fantasy worlds, by connecting them together, the endless space. Originally, the worlds such as 𝗿𝗏, 𝗕, Unearthed were all just a start, the place where you played, but this designs it in a way that allows the characters to venture from one world to another, similar to plane shifting.
Yes, and that's a really important thing. So there's a couple comments in the chat about having high hopes, also great concerns, and she's not typically a fan of space. And I think the focus is to not think about it as traditional space. And I think if you think about it as an opportunity to expand on your experiences of D&D, you move away of go in the dungeon and kill the monster. Now it go into the asteroid and kill the monster.
Yep.
Or go to a planet and hunt this person down. You know, it changes it because you can now make any rules you want for those worlds and expand upon it. For everyone, imagine this. This is what I hope happens, and this is just Justin's thoughts. Everyone and their mother has created a homebrew world.
Yep.
What if there's a massive list put together through like Obsidian Portal, for instance, where they're all linked together, where you could pick a world that somebody else created and visit it based on the details provided through that campaign tracker?
That would be kind of cool.
How cool would that be? So not only do you get the traditional 𝗕 and Forgotten Realms 𝗿𝗏, but we instantly can expand to stuff for Magic the Gathering, for instance, right?
Yep.
We had an episode back with Plane Shifters.
Yep.
Where we talked about some of that stuff. But imagine the amount of worlds that you could experience, the different styles of play. Going to a world where just setting foot on it resets your memory after a day of being there.
Oof.
And the longer you're there, the longer the memory erasure effect happens.
That would suck.
And you didn't know about it because you just discovered it. That is why I think Spelljammer is so much fun.
Plot twist. You've already been a week. Even though you thought
You thought it was like a day? Oh
Because your memory keeps being erased.
But that's I'm talking about it. Oh, so I can't read the blue text there, but fantasy version of Treasure. Why not just Treasure Planet?
That's mad.
Yeah.
That's just the idea of landing fantasy characters on Earth just sounds amazing. They come here to stop the effing Nazis or something. You know what I mean? How cool is mages and spellcasters landing on Earth fighting effing Nazis? I think that's cool. Anyways, Brandon, do you want to expand a little bit on this?
Damn. Yeah, you get excited about a lot of things, but this is
Well, what can I say?
very exciting. This all allows the GM and the characters to experience a diversity in creatures, physics, and magic, as he's pointing out.
Yes.
All within the same campaign. Each world is treated as unique, hidden solar systems with secrets ready to be revealed. Each world is self-contained within what is known as a crystal sphere,
Which you pointed out earlier.
Yep.
as in like an atmosphere.
No, that's
No.
that's what they have instead of solar systems.
So imagine if your galaxy, imagine our galaxy, and it had literally a crystal around it.
Like a globe.
If you see Men in Black, remember when the guys playing marbles? Exactly
That's
like
the first
that.
thought I had.
But it's instead of a galaxy, it's a solar system, right?
Yeah.
Oh my god. Using the magical vessels known as Spelljammers, the characters can pierce the crystal spheres from one world to the next. That sounds kind of dangerous.
Yeah.
But that's the point, right?
Yep.
Travelers must be wary as each world's deities
Can you smash into it if you don't successfully pierce it?
Guess not.
That's what I was
Could
saying.
you imagine splatters of goo on this?
You shatter, everyone has to make a deck save. all the sharp objects are just flying everywhere.
Yeah.
Oh, what was it? Travelers must be wary as each world's deities devise the magical laws that govern the crystal sphere's reality. Lack of understanding can mean the end of any voyage. Up is down, left is right.
So that kind of touches on what I was discussing a second ago, right?
Yep. I think I remember at one point where people were talking about, oh, you were a cleric? Your god was in this crystal sphere. You're now in this one, where the god's not there.
And actually, the books and stuff touch on that quite extensively.
Yep.
Dark Sun World, which is, by the way, is one that I want to delve back into. I have not been there since 4th edition. But in Dark Sun, the gods are dead. There's no source of divine magic.
Yep.
Is that to say, like, if there's a warlock with a patron from a different area and they...
Power gone.
That sounds
So imagine
really
that's
bad.
the person piloting the Spelljammer. So what do we learn? You know who doesn't get it? The paladin doesn't, or not the paladin. The cleric doesn't get to pilot ships.
shitty
The
would that be?
warlocks don't get to pilot it. Do you know why?
You're feeling special. It's like, yeah, this is great. You crash through that crystal, all of a sudden the whole ship...
Just kind of and flies
What's going
into
on?
a star.
What's going on? Nothing's happening!
But that's the sort of things that make for exciting games, right?
Yep.
A player wouldn't expect that sort of thing unless they had thought about it like, we have, because we're weird like that. But anyways, do you have any?
Let's keep going.
Okay. So with the aid of spell jamming technology, and it is a technology that's magic, it's a mix.
And apparently the Spelljammer is only made by one race, the Arcane. So
Yes, that's actually a really important thing that I don't know that I pointed out. So with the aid of the spell jamming technology, the vessels and their travelers can move between the not only the crystal spheres, but planets within the same sphere, right?
Yep.
With little time and effort. So not only does this mean that we can now jump to different universes, basically, but you can jump into different worlds within the same universe, right?
Yep.
So there's kind of a standardization that happens there, right?
Yep.
So while the travel may be simple, it's not without its dangers. That's important, right? Caution to even the strongest adventurers, for the multiverse is vast and even gods perish.
Yep.
That's important. These threats are endless. All this and more await the characters to seek to ride a Spelljammer. It's worth noting that it is recommended to keep the cosmology similar to that of our own solar system, such as round planets, a revolution around the planet or a sun being a year, yada yada. Now, if your homebrew worlds are flat, maybe all of the worlds are flat, but I don't think you need to specifically stick to this.
I mean, what to stop you from going to like a crystal sphere that has a flat world in the back of 4 elephants and the back of a giant turtle? Just saying.
That's oddly specific.
It is.
Okay.
You break through a crystal wall. Frisbees!
But what do you think the reason for that is?
Consistency.
And assumptions, right?
Yep.
I think that's a big one, is the assumption, right? Because otherwise you have to constantly reiterate that this is different. Hey, let's go to this place on the other side of the planet. Gravity only pulls you down, and the planet's flat, so you can't go to the other side. You know what I mean? Or there's a giant turtle, snapping turtle that'll eat you, I guess. I don't know. What are some other potential reasons why you would want to avoid changing the kind of standard cosmology of round planets, for instance?
Less work.
Oh, that's a good one. I didn't think about that. I'm down for that. Less work.
Let's work. I was thinking difficulty in maps.
That's a good one. It's easier to make standardized maps, right? So, a lot of different reasons. That's just what they recommend.
Distance, time.
It's not necessarily something that you have to do, right?
No.
Also, kudos to Ed for loving Dark Sun, and I think that's great. He says 5e doesn't do psionics well. I think that is a design flaw, not a failure of the system. So, question for you guys:
Yes.
how do I get my characters into space?
Well, it sounds like you need a Spelljammer for one thing.
Well, that's a good start, but you got to kind of get to that point, right? So,
Yeah.
the first challenge for any GM trying to introduce space travel to the fantasy characters in a fun and a natural way. You don't want it to be forced. Now,
No.
this tends to work best when there are little to no knowledge of space travel at the start of the campaign. That's interesting. Though, why do you think that is? Why do you think that it's best if they aren't aware of it to begin with?
So the players can learn about it as they go along.
Maybe space is too dangerous for lower level characters.
Definitely. I think Ian's right on there because the fun of discovery in lore and exploration pillars, I think, are the two most underrated pillars. And not knowing about it when it starts makes for a wondrous kind of experience to describe for the first time. How many times you had a dungeon described to you? How many times have you seen a mountain described to you?
Enough.
Stars and planets?
Never.
Right. But that makes it more exciting, right? Now, that doesn't mean that there can't be ancient oral lore or paintings or texts that reference rare travelers, but it should be a new discovery to get the most out of your, first delve into Spelljammer. I think the greatest connection outright is something that we all love. Mind flayers.
Yep.
Because we know they come from the far realm. Well, what the hell is that?
Same could be said for the 𝗕𝗓𝗏, the 𝗕𝗂𝗃𝗃.
You shut your... Yeah, actually, he's right.
Something that's 1,000 light years away.
Yeah, right. These teleportation rifts kind of open up and they kind of just...
Yep.
They come through, right?
I was just thinking that because you're saying how many times have you had stars or planets described to you, and my thought was like, well, it's still gonna be the same thing. You got blue, green, red stars, all these different planets that you can say, oh, this one's grassy, this one's gassy, and all that sort of stuff.
Grassy and gassy.
Then I started thinking, what if there was a star that did a dance with its planets in a perfect loop with a black hole, and they never get sucked up.
And then their dust or their cosmic dust makes one black one and one white one, so it looks like a giant peace sign or yin yang symbol. They infinitely circling each other. Now, what if on rare occasions those two planets or stars connect and some cosmic event happens? Maybe the crystal sphere shatters when that happens, allowing in 𝗕𝗏𝗏𝗃𝗃s or mind flayers. Oh my god, I'm loving this! Just talking about it is awesome!
That's not a bad thought. What do you do if you get lost?
You start a show in space.
Lost. Oh, shut up. What the fuck? Oh, that's right. It's a TV show.
I'm half asleep, and even I picked up on that.
It's no different than if you get lost in a large forest. But instead of trees blocking your way, it's infinite expanse of nothing and flying whales.
Exactly. You get lost in the woods, like, okay, I know my house is somewhere on this planet, and I'm going to find it. But
How do you know you're on the same plane of existence? That's what happens with the 𝗖𝗿𝗶𝗁 all the time, right?
Yeah.
Little rifts open, they stumble through. But you're right. It would be significantly more difficult without like a star chart or some sort of magical sextant, right?
Yep.
Sorry, we're doing pretty good on the conversation. We want to keep it rolling though.
Yeah. All right. But anyway, once it's learned that that spaces away from the world isn't empty, but a brand new frontier to explore, well, a lot of players might start trying to figure out how this all works and how you can get up there to the stars. And there's obviously multiple hooks you can use to get things kickstarted.
Absolutely. Brandon, if you want, do you want to touch on one of the first concepts? And I think this is important because the more interesting you make this, the more memorable it's going to be. And I think that there's a couple traditional ways that we can do this, starting with the ancient artifacts kind of theory.
Yeah, ancient artifacts. Wars in space are not uncommon. In fact, I would love to see where you do in your Spelljammer and you see the old-fashioned Star Wars thing, like way in the distance, you see beep 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 beep, beep like stuff being shot.
Well, that's a good point. So they're standing there, on the top of a mountain fighting a dragon, and then you just see these big blasts going off in space or high up into the sky.
Those shooting stars are really weird looking.
They're very close.
Let's see, pirate bands, slavers, and worse hunt victims. This means aerial battles between Spelljammer ships, which is going to be awesome. I can't wait for that.
Yep.
Such as the 𝗖𝗿𝗀𝗃 𝗕𝗂𝗏 aren't uncommon.
Yep.
Yeah. It's reasonable to assume that deep in the abandoned mine lost centuries ago, there is a space vessel frozen in stone.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah. This ship just waits for a simple repair and perhaps a spellcaster to help the spelljamming throne.
Yep.
To jumping on the helm and getting it going. Or starts out as a simple exploration of a dungeon, turns into a perfect introduction into space.
What do you think about that, Ian?
Actually, I was even thinking about what if an adventure started by having a pirate spelljammer come in and try to do a raid, and because he underestimated the players,
you take it over.
Yeah.
And you steal it.
Great. We found a flying ship. How's that work?
That would be a really great example, way to introduce 𝗿𝗵𝗂𝗂𝗃, right?
Yeah.
Because that's what they do. They're xenophobic, right? They hate everyone that doesn't look like them, except for the 𝗕𝗂𝗃𝗍 who look like them, and they still hate.
Yep.
So that's a really great idea. They come, they find a new settlement,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe it's a bigger city, and your characters just happen to be there when they invade, and
Yep.
oh man, you take the fight to them. I'm getting serious Independence vibes right now. Independence Day?
Independence Day.
Oh my goodness. Where there's a big mothership up there, and the characters have to find a way to break down their shields, take over one of the transports, learn how to operate it, fly it into the mothership, and blow everything to smithereens. Oh my god, that's awesome. That's also the way it's done in several other shows. Marvel's Avengers, I'm not calling you out at all for your stolen concept.
I had a thought that I think would be just perfect. And that is, you're on your own ship, like out in the ocean. You're sailing along, going to try to get from one place to another. You get attacked by pirates.
Yep.
Okay. They're 𝗕𝗓𝗃𝗃, and they're sailing like you are.
Mm-hmm.
And you do overtake their ship. You take them down. You're like, yeah, we got this. You got this other ship. And while you're exploring it, as far as the characters know, it's just a boat.
It's actually a spelljammer.
It's a spelljammer, but they think it's a boat. Until they start finding like user manuals and saying, "The fuck's a spelljammer?"
Right. Now, that's actually worth touching on a little bit. Because the design of a spelljammer is not limited to what we think of as like a spaceship or a flying galleon. It really depends on the culture that designs the spelljammer, which I think is really good. And I'm not sure if I don't remember if I wrote that down in here or not. We'll touch on that in a little bit, but you're not really limited to that. So one of the cool things is like dwarves flying around in mountains, you know what I mean? That's not ancient alien stuff right there. All right, so let's give one more hook before we move on. I want to talk about abduction. I think this is a great one. As a kid that grew up watching like X-Files and all these sightings and all these crazy alien things, having the characters are called to investigate the disappearance of the locals in the realm.
Yep.
That's already really interesting if you like mysteries, right? The characters learn that bright lights, crop circles, and other strange happenings are all precursors to this disappearance, right?
Yep.
Now, using their resources to look for patterns and spot the next strange appearances, they set up a sort of ambush to the next victim, or what is it when the cops sit outside of somebody's home? A stakeout, right?
Yep.
They do like a stakeout to watch for these events. Upon its arrival, the lights of a large, strange-looking spelljammer vessel appears. This can lead to the character slaying it and using it, and learning how to use it themselves. Perhaps they stow aboard to try to rescue whoever's been captured and brought back. To me, this is just a really great way to not only introduce the concept of alien creatures that the players themselves shouldn't really know about, because you can homebrew the shit out of that, right?
Oh yeah.
Or just alien creatures that they might be familiar with. 𝗕𝗂𝘃𝗃𝗃 being the most obvious, or not 𝗕𝗂𝘃𝗃𝗃, 𝗕𝗃𝘀, who are used to going and kidnapping people and putting them into servitude, right?
Yep.
To fight the 𝗖𝗿𝗶𝗁. So there's a lot of good details there for when it comes to the different sorts of hooks. We have another one. Ian, do you want to blow through that or just?
Yep, and also there could be first contact, like be it like traders, diplomats, and so on and so forth, just trying to establish relations to other crystal spheres. And that obviously there could be more than one way to go about that, but that's the only way you can.
Yeah, I think that's a really great one, and that's definitely a fun way to do it. For me, I think the idea of them coming in peace as refugees, because their planet is under attack by somebody else, and was forced to look for another system that would welcome them.
Yep.
Or even just sustain them.
Yep.
What do you think, B?
We have come to do trade from other worlds. That's exactly how I see that going down.
That's not what happened in Mars Attacked.
Pretty much.
We come in peace. We come in peace. Bust out their lasers and start dusting people. I think that doesn't mean what we think it means. So, in Spelljammer, what kind of life is on other planets? Because that's an important part of spelljamming, right? Is the
I was agreeing with you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I thought you were trying to add to it. So many fantasy worlds function the same, right? They tend to have a variety of similar humanoids, beasts, devils, and more. A native to Neverwinter will likely be right at home in Greyhawk or Arthas in most cases. Those are the settings for Dark Sun and what is Krynn?
That's your own question.
Oh, Krynn is in Greyhawk. I knew that. I had a brain fart there. Though this doesn't have to be the case, you can really let your imagination kind of run wild if you do so. Just do so to choose. Now, I, for one, love the idea of each planet's different monster races having kind of their own planet. So, a planet full of sentient ooze. That just sounds awesome to me.
Yep.
And not because I'm a big fan of Venom, and now on that planet, if you land, they literally try to use you as meat bodies. Just so that they can, have a form.
Yep.
How terrifying would that be as a player to just land on it? They get you all comfortable, they're smart, they're sentient, they talk to you, and then when you're about to be greeted, they just swarm you and take over your bodies. Now you have to play other adventurers who have to go seek out the ones that disappeared.
Yep.
No?
There's just a never-ending story with
spew of diarrhea, right?
It just keeps going and going.
But that's what makes Spelljammer so interesting, I think, is you have a reason to be able to change the world so drastically that not only do the players not know what's going to happen, you can do things you wouldn't be able to do otherwise.
Yep.
I'm a big fan of the books by Brandon Sanderson, and in one of my favorite ones, he experimented with space flight, where in it one of the creatures are a sentient crystals, and somebody's mentioned Ed's mentioned growing crystals, which reminded me of this. They're sentient crystals, and the way they survive is different than any other creature because they're crystals. They're slow moving, and that means that players that land on there may not know that.
Mm-hmm.
Start mining them because they're valuable.
Yep.
As like a power source or arcane focus.
they're just doing genocide by accident.
But it's mass genocide.
Yep.
Because they don't know. And I think that happened in Star Trek too, didn't they? They destroyed a planet that had these little creatures on it that they didn't know were living. And when they finally learned to communicate with these crystals that glow light, they started referring to people as bags of mostly water or some meat bags full of mostly water or whatever.
Yep.
Anyways, but once again, that's what makes it fun. Brandon, do you want to expand on life on other planets there?
Life on other planets. Now, it can be a lot of work to fully flesh out the world with unique monsters.
Mm-hmm.
The nature of Spelljammer means this is even more work for you.
Yay! Ugly bags of mostly water, thank you.
Yep.
We recommend that you start with normal monsters that you already have,
Yeah.
and just toss them into different scenarios.
Yep.
Sorry, bug. Into a different scenario. For example, we
Probably one
expect
from
to
another
see
planet.
giant whales swimming in the sea. Why not have them swimming in the clouds of another world? Or perhaps a world where dinosaurs are primary sentient creatures. Doing
the name
business with a velociraptor is not fun. It's like, how much is that, bro?
Really? That's the best you've got.
It's 5 gold.
5 denaries. 5 skulls. The
Shit.
savage humans are the currency.
No
3
dragons.
years.
No dragons, just dinosaurs. Not even humanoid. The world would be designed for them. Sure, there are humanoids, but perhaps they are primitive, lack complex speech, and are just used as general labor. The multiverse is quite literally anything you want it to be. Hell, you can even toss your characters into the world of your favorite Disney show, Kingdom Hearts.
Oh my god, yes! Kingdom Hearts is a Spelljammer campaign if I ever saw one.
Pretty much.
That makes sense.
Right?
I
Because
didn't think about that
the
being said,
characters don't match. They all look way different.
Yep.
But they go to all these different worlds, and they go through these little spaceship, gummy ships. Man.
And you really want to make monsters for other worlds? Just a random thought. There's, 300 pages in the monster manual?
Yep.
Okay.
300 monsters or so. I wouldn't say 300 pages.
300 monsters.
I don't know how many pages it is, but anyways.
Okay, so roll some percentile die or whatever die you need to generate the page numbers. The first roll is the head, the second roll is the body, the next roll is the legs. There you go, you have a alien creature.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I don't know about the stat blocks. Good luck with that.
Figure it out yourself. Do what I do. Just make it up on the fly and hope for the best.
That's just hard.
Yep.
Visit Luigi's bar. Laughing Beholder. That's awesome. So, if you're not sure what to fill your multiverse with, consider starting with existing D&D monster campaign mixed with your own homebrew rolls, right?
Yep.
Then kind of branch out from there, right? We all do our own homebrew at some extent, right?
Yep.
Because honestly, it's a lot of work to learn the lore of an existing world that your players might already know, which is why, Troy, if you're listening and or watching this, you always drove me nuts.
You know you're going to see him on the 6th, right?
I hope he doesn't watch this or listen to this. That's one of the reasons why I really struggled to play with him when I was playing Forgotten Realms. Because I was like, man, if I make a change here, he's going to just call me out on it. Anyways, so we did cover 6 different worlds that were very well fleshed out by Wizards of the Coast in episode 222, Plane Shift, which was really great. It had plenty of great worlds from the Magic the Gathering setting. Obviously 7 if you count Ravnica.
Yeah, so we covered it a year ago then.
It's really great because it gives you all the outlines, but none of the fleshed out details. So it says, here's some monsters, here's the setting. This giant madness disease is overrunning this world. So when they arrive, they instantly have to deal with what?
They're crap.
Yeah, fighting something that is not that they see, that just alters their perceptions, which totally means it's going to change the way the natives behave.
Yep.
And the way the characters behave as soon as they land, which I think is great. Of course, then you have to deal with, okay, if they land, is their ship going to stay there? like, how are you going to deal with that, right? All right, so I mentioned briefly about ships, Ian. So what kind of ships are there as Spelljammer ships?
There's kind of a huge variety. We touched on that quite a bit, but like most people picture sailing vessels, but that's hardly the only option out there. Like with all the different worlds and aliens out there, you have that many options really when you think about it. Like as we kind of touched on, dwarves could have flying mountain citadels, or the elves could have their ships from trees to look like a massive butterfly.
I love that. What are some unique race mechanics you would have for, or ship styles you would have for a different? Like I'm thinking orc. You know what I think of a space flying orc? Just a giant sword. It's just a giant sword that flies through the air. Oh, spear. What a fantastic way to spread your seed.
Gnome side wheelers with giant space hamsters on wheels.
That's awesome. I love that. And space hamsters are a thing. There's a creature type, I think, in Spelljammer that's just those. So now you've got gnomes who are vicious, who have enslaved the the little hamster people, and they force them to run on the little treadmills.
Another thing about Farscape, where their ship is like actually a giant cybernetic alien creature.
That sounds awesome.
They actually had to deal with the fact that she was pregnant for a while.
That's brutal.
Yep.
Also, chest bursters need to be in Spelljammer. If that's not in the Spelljammer book when it releases on the 16th.
I mean, that's kind of what the slots are, so.
You bastard, that's right.
People forget that.
I do. I forget about slots. All right.
There's xenomorph type creatures.
Yes, the slots.
Very much.
That's awesome.
They're just giant xenomorph frogs, I guess.
Slots are dicks.
Yeah, they are. All right. So aside from their unique shape, each Spelljammer vessel has 2 core features that makes it a Spelljammer.
Yep.
First, the atmospheric envelope, and then the gravity plane, right?
Yep. That
really is very core, because without the atmospheric envelope, flying into space means what? Bursting into flames, I think I said.
Well,
what did you say?
Bursting
having
in flames,
no air.
Having no
floating,
air.
suffocating. Teleporting to the nearest sun.
There was an old Stephen King book. I think it was Stephen King book I wrote where a plane went through and back in time, and then you had these little things that were eating time, so the past didn't actually exist. What if when you go to space, you just get eaten by giant, shadowy creatures? Like, that's why you need the atmospheric scoop.
That's fucking terrifying.
Atmospheric envelope. Anyway, so the atmospheric envelope is what allows the creatures to stand on the deck in space and not suffer negative effects that would otherwise have on it. It noticeably doesn't say what happens, so I guess you leave that to you. This is particularly of note that not every envelope is designed for every creature type.
Nope.
That's important. Why do you think that's important, Brandon?
I have no idea.
Creature types have different atmospheric envelopes because they might breathe different chemicals.
That could make sense.
What is something you have to consider when you try to board an enemy ship?
Can you survive?
Yeah.
Maybe taking an acid damage every
Could you
turn?
imagine how horrible that would be?
I mean, like the grunts and Halo breathe methane, for example.
Yeah. I didn't know that.
That's why they always wear the gas mask all the time.
That's why they wear masks. That's why they have those giant tanks on their back. That's methane tanks.
I had no idea. That's hilarious that I played so many Halo and didn't know that.
That's why they explode when you hit them.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that all makes sense now. Justin's brain finally catching up to 20 years of playing Halo.
I'm now thinking about, very off topic, when a reviewer was talking about Halo 3. He's like, we finally found out the main Master Chief's name is John. Everybody in the comment section, everybody who read the books already knew that, you jackwagon.
That's funny. I have to give a huge shout out to 𝗲𝗏. Stars are just celestial beings keeping monsters at bay. I love that. And in fact, what?
I had a thought similar to that. Not the celestial beings keep the monsters at bay, but the fact that there's gargantuan monsters that float through space. They're just very dangerous encounters, terrifying encounters. Like, let's say you're on your Spelljammer, right? And you're going along, you look up and you see a planet passing by. You look down, you look back up, and it's not there no more. Instead, it's like way back here. That's because you're being followed by a Leviathan false Hydra, and you keep forgetting everything.
Oh my goodness. That's awesome. I love it. Anyway, so the last thing I want to touch on is the core feature of the gravity plane, which generates a gravity field. What do you think the importance of this is in a Spelljammer?
The importance of gravity?
Yeah.
That seems pretty rhetorical.
Okay, how so?
You need gravity to move about.
Yep.
Doesn't it depend on who you are?
And they probably use gravity to move your ship, too.
I don't know. It doesn't really say about that. That's interesting. Magical propulsion via gravity?
Yeah, I could picture that being used for that purpose.
How about as a weapon?
Yes!
Everyone on the ship has spider climb. They can move about the base once gravity's off. Or maybe you're some gifts and you have really high strength, so you triple the gravity so everyone else that's invading moves slower.
Yep.
Okay. That works well.
Got to use what you got, baby. Got to use what you got. Now, we've been on this part. Are you guys excited for Spelljammer?
Yes.
Were you excited for it before we started this conversation?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm a little more excited because I didn't know much about it.
Yes.
But now I know more about it, and like that sounds so much more fun.
I think I read more about it years ago, but I kind of did like a quick refresher before you started too. So.
Oh my
Or
God,
what
Astral.
If
Murderoids. Space mimics. Oh my goodness. Asteroids that are mimics.
Oh.
Like Pac-Man. Space Pac-Man. Wobble, 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 wobble. And all the little pellets are Spelljammers flying through an asteroid
Beware
field.
that asteroid, sir. That's no asteroid.
That's no moon.
That's no moon.
That's your mama.
So,
Again, on that gravity thing. Or thoughts, like elephants, mind flayers.
Yep.
They're squid beings, right?
mm-hmm,
They have suction cups.
mm-hmm.
They just
Yeah.
they turn the gravity off, watch people float up, and just turn it on.
Think about that. If you landed, I mean, as a player, how frustrating would it be to land on the deck of a ship, not be able to breathe, and be stuck under indefinite levitate effect?
Yeah, you're
Fuck,
scared.
fuck.
You just float
Like,
off.
That just, I mean, all they have to do is Eldritch blast your ass right out of the envelope into space. There's nothing you can do about it. It becomes so much more deadly.
Yep.
Oh, Delcinia, you give me a house hunter as a ship. The freaking ship is a mimic. And it's empty, and the players have to traverse a floating graveyard to find out why.
That's awesome. I love it. I love it. All right.
Yep, we touched on that earlier with the Spelljammer itself, which is a giant manta ray thing. Creature.
I'm super excited for this, so I hope everyone is ready to set sail for the stars August 16th when Spelljammer Adventures in Space comes out. The thrilling space-based adventure setting presents the astral. We didn't talk about what space is.
No, we didn't.
In second edition and edition, the astral plane is astral plane. So I'm excited to see when it's just space and they treat it as a different plane.
Yeah.
Right?
You're just sailing along the astral plane, and you see a sudden floating person because they put a portable hole in a bag of holding.
Yeah, I love it. I really enjoy this.
all
I'm
froze
really
up.
excited for this. I hope that you guys will all stick around when we cover it again, because we're obviously going to delve into the actual books once they come out. This lore we did pull from the second edition book. There's no reason to believe much of that's going to change. I mean, it's already a well-defined setting. So